What's up, everybody? It's Matt Johnson. We are back with another episode of Real Estate Uncensored. This is the place where you get actionable ideas, insight, and inspiration to turn your real estate career into a life of freedom. And we have no guest. It's a live Friday show. Gene Volpe is here. The evil bald ninja himself is in the house. We've got the junior grandmaster here. And we're just going to have some fun today. We're talking, there's a few things on our mind. We'll talk a little bit about marketing and maybe some good decision making going into the end of the year where you're deciding on what things to add or what things to do differently in your business in 2020. We'll also talk about, I think Gene's got some stuff that he's noticed with clients. We'll talk a little bit about social media and what to post. We'll take some questions from the group. We'll take some questions live, and we'll just have some fun today. So, Gregory, Allen, Newman, McDonald.
What the fuck are you talking about?
I'm just making up random middle names for you right now. Gregory, what's up today?
McDaniel.
Gregory Thomas. It's funny. I don't know your middle name, but I'm totally going to start calling him Newman. Like
Newman.
Gregory Newman McDaniel. What's up today?
Franklin Lloyd Johnson. Dude, it's a good day, great day. It's a Friday show. We got a lot of people showing up. We're going to talk about building the next generation for real estate agents, kind of like what the next generation is looking for, what they're doing, how they're going about it. Got a great call from our buddy Jeff Coates out of South America the other day. He and his team were building up some scripts and kind of just how we did some small tweaks. Maybe we'll break into some script tweaking for folks for the upcoming in this year. And the Bald Ninja was attempting to have a thought, but it may have been a fart. He might have brought something. What were we going to bring to the table today? What was that going to be?
We know so much about each other that you can tell when I'm ready to either say something or rip one. I don't get that.
Hey, man,
Okay.
We've never met in person, but I know you that well.
I was going to
He
say, that's a
noticed me.
disturbing level of intimacy we've developed here on this show.
Well, it's also
It is,
how
actually.
I know when I'm about ready to irritate Matt to the ends of the earth. I can see his face scrunch. Like, please don't say that in public. Oh, fuck, he said it in public. God damn it. Another one in the books. So, yes, and Matt is giving me a funny-looking grin right now.
I was going to say, well, I was just thinking I think around you that might just be called my normal facial expression because I think I'm always living in a state of pre-Greg embarrassment. Okay. Yeah.
I'm just going to buy you little shots of vodka and let you carry them around, and so they're like, oh, this is going to be a rough one. Bam! Slam a shot at you and then cruise on through the rest of the day. Yeah, that works.
that would make you significantly funnier. Okay, so I do have speaking of scripts, I do have a good question to kick us off. This is from Andy Simpson. He's a new member. What?
Wait.
This is terrible podcasting. What are we waiting for? What's happening?
No, I want to say something. You introduced me and you walked by. You asked me if I had to fart, and then that's the end of it.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
That's crap. I've been on this show.
Well, I didn't want to put you on the spot if you didn't have exactly what you wanted to say yet.
I do have something I want to say, and I'm going to call out to the community today. Can I do that?
All right, here we go. All right.
So, as you guys may or may not know, I was 30 miles from my area on Tuesday, and I had the opportunity to give 2 different speaking talks to an Association of Realtors group that is not where I reside, but a couple counties away. And no lie, there were 4 people that approached me randomly as I walked in the place and at different times throughout the day, which actually it's kind of funny because all 4 of them said to me, "Hey, can I ask you a question?" And I said, "Sure." And they said, "Are you the Bald Ninja?" I was like, "As a matter of fact, I am." And so I knew I knew immediately where they came from. But here's what I want to say to you. All 4 of these people said, thank you to you guys, to Greg and Matt especially, because we listen to that show every week, and the amount of information I've taken and put into my own business is something that I almost can't calculate. And I love the show, and I love those guys. And I thought,
that's awesome.
3,000 miles from where you guys are at, they recognize me for being on this show. And I thought, one, just kudos to you guys, because I think you're doing something, and sometimes it gets lost in the weeds, but I think you're doing something great for people that can use it, and some people that just like to be entertained. And 2, I'm just curious with the people that are listening, jump on the Facebook feed or somewhere where you can type and give me something that you learned from this show that maybe you've used in your business, just so we can kind of talk about it, let Matt and Greg know the good stuff that's been going on. So just tell us 1 or 2 things that maybe you've stolen from the show, used in your own line of business, whether it be social media, whatever it is. And by the way, this was unscripted, right? Let the people know. I just pulled this out of my ass.
Let the people know. Yeah,
know.
Gene, we appreciate that. But yeah,
We do.
yeah, I mean, it does help because, well, especially since, and Greg, you pointed this out before, you tend to be the one that gets most of the positive feedback just because you're, I guess, more active with people on Facebook Messenger and stuff like that. And you just come across as a little bit more accessible. So you hear a little bit more of the positive feedback from the listeners. So yes, I would love to hear it, see it. So I'll keep an eye on the Facebook comments. But let's go back real quick. Because yeah, and by the way, thanks, Gene. I appreciate that, and it's cool that you get recognized from the show. That's awesome.
But, hey,
Absolutely,
Gene,
I love every second of it.
you warmed Matt's little coal that we call a heart. Look at that. That thing's like a burning little ember.
That's
right
right.
now.
There's a
gonna be
tiny
real
puddle.
boy someday.
There's a tiny puddle of melted charcoal underneath my heart.
Stupid. All right.
All
Let's
right.
go.
All right. So back to the question, Andy Simpson. Does anyone have a good script for someone who's trying to bypass having a buyer's agent? Which I assume he means working with him. He is the buyer's agent. They're trying to get around having to work with him as a buyer's agent. Maybe go straight to the listing agent.
Okay, here's one of the things that I use a lot when it comes to getting around that. I ask the buyer, I say one thing, I say, hey, got a question for you. I understand that you want to go directly to the listing agent. Can you help me understand why you want to do that? Well, they usually answer, well, because I want to get a good deal. I say, you know what? That is a phenomenal reason, and that's exactly why I'm asking you this question. And the reason I'm telling this is that, did you know that listing agent has a fiduciary relationship with that seller? That means they have a legal obligation to get the highest and best price for that home. And me as a buyer's agent is the counter to that, and I have a fiduciary to the buyers to get the lowest and best price. So here's the question. How can you ask someone to go against a legal document requiring them to get the highest price when you want to get the lower price? Wouldn't it be intuitive for me to work with you so that we can get the lowest and best price, and I'm incentivized to work as hard as I can for you? And that generally works extremely well because they don't get it. They just don't know the fact they have a fiduciary relationship with the listing agent to get the highest and best price. I mean, they right. Just don't get it. Like, oh, I'll just work with one agent and I'll just save a commission. No, you fucktard. That's not how this works. I mean, if you really think about it, that doesn't make any sense in any business. It's like getting a divorce and hiring the wife's divorce attorney going, hey, do you think you could get me the best deal because my wife's kind of an asshole? And the agent, the attorney would be like, no, you dick. I'm already representing her. I can't help you. That's a fiduciary relationship. Or it can be the man or the woman. Doesn't matter. I just picked one. But that's what I would do. Matt, what would you do?
Well, I would lead with that example because I think that instantly cuts to the heart of it, which is, well, if you were getting divorced, would you work with the ex's lawyer?
God, no. I hate my wife, ex-wife.
Yeah. Because I do think people don't realize that's the relationship. Now, you could get into, there's a bunch of different scripting ways to handle it, but I think that really does cut to the heart of it, which is that who's fighting for you? You know, that listing agent has a responsibility to fight to get the highest price. I would rather have you have somebody in your corner. And by the way, it doesn't cost you anything. So why wouldn't you have somebody fighting for you? So you might think that you have to go directly to the listing agent to get some sort of deal, but you're not paying anything to have a buyer's agent work for you. You're literally just going in there like going into court without a lawyer. So yeah, why wouldn't you want somebody to represent you? So I think it's really just it's a combination of they are not educated, but the way that you educate them says something about you. And if you do it calmly and in a way that just cuts right to the heart of the matter, gives them a very visceral, vivid example of what it's like to work without a buyer's agent fighting for them in their corner, I think they would immediately go, oh yeah, that makes sense. Now, then it's up to you whether you want to try to get them into a buyer's agreement. There's definitely some scripting there with some finesse on why do you want me to sign an agreement with you to be my person? Can't you just go out and show me houses, and if I find something we like, we make an offer? And that's where you have to make a business decision on whether you're going to enforce that or not.
The funny thing is, I've told you guys a story so many times about how I tried to get a buyer agreement signed one time. And
yeah, you tried it once. Exactly.
One time.
Exactly.
And the guy sat down. I showed him the buyer broker agreement. I explained to him, well, see, sir, this is why we need to get this signed. Not a single word spoken by the guy. Gets up, walks out of the conference room, right out the front of the office. Never heard from him again. I'm like, well, that didn't work. Okay, back to plan A and building a relationship. You know. Yep. And, my business decision is not to get those signed. That's my own personal thing. That's my own thing. You guys do you, boo. I'm just going to do me on this one.
Yeah.
So.
Exactly. I'm a big fan. I never worked with buyers, but pretty much all of my, I don't want to say all of my clients necessarily, But like the Jeff Cohns of the world that are running teams of 20, 30, 40, 50 people, they pretty consistently enforce buyer agent agreements, and their agents can get them signed. People are happy, and yada yada yada. So it definitely can be done. I think you do run the risk occasionally of losing the occasional buyer, but you should have enough of a string of prospects that that's not an issue to where one person who you probably should have been working with to begin with gets offended that the fact that you might want to put your agreement in writing on the fact that you're going to work together. Like to me, that would be a red flag, right?
I think that goes back to something. I mean, again, this is my own personal way of doing it, so it's not speaking to the industry whatsoever. But I mean, one of the things, like you said, it's upfront communication. Like, hey, this is how I run my business. If we're going to work together, I'm going to spend my time with you, and you're going to spend your time with me. I don't want you to cheat on me, and I don't want to cheat on you. You go back to that cheating script, which always works very, very, very well. And say, for me to legally represent your interest, my brokerage, you can always put your brokerage as the bad guy. My brokerage requires us to get these buyer-broker agreements signed so that we can legally represent your interest in the purchase of the next property.
Yeah.
And people are just like, oh, the broker's the bad guy. Oh, okay, cool. But Gene, we cut you off. You were going to say something.
No, I said I want both sides.
You want both sides?
Yeah, I'm greedy.
You greedy little bitch.
You want both sides.
Yeah, I'll lie, cheat, and steal to get $8,000 instead of $4,000. How about that?
Hey, lean into your mic a little bit. You're coming in soft for some reason.
No, I think my internet connection's acting weird. I'm kidding, of course. I realize, you're basically negotiating with yourself at that point. I'm kidding.
But are you?
All right. We got some good comments here from folks that are listening. So Jeff Coates talking about the things that they pulled out of the show. Scripts, objection handlers, conversation pieces for phone calls, how to scale a lot of stuff, which is awesome. I love that he's pulled that much out of the show. Paul Franklin might have the best comment so far. I've learned that you can't bring Greg out in public. 100% agree. Thank you, Paul. Justin said you guys are so consistent with the videos. I grew up with the cold call vids. So he's talking about, Greg, your cold calling show. We'll get into what we say is a next-gen business. We're going to get into that in a second. Mike Petrie or Petrie says, a year or so ago, I remember Greg saying, do you want to buy the house or do you want to try to buy the house? He says, I use that a lot. So little screen, pieces and bits of scripting I think are super helpful. And handling the agency agreement. Yeah, so we got lots of good comments coming, guys.
That script from. It was no rocket science. I was just frustrated as fuck with one of my buyers. Okay. I was just at the end of my string, and I'm like, do you want to try to buy that house? You just want to buy the damn thing. I was just done, and it worked so well. I'm like, oh, check that out.
Oh, I love it. Okay. All right. So let's shift gears a little bit. So what was it? Real Trends, Greg? You sent me this article. It was just it wasn't a great article on its own. It basically just was talking about, look, how are we going to recruit the next generation of real estate agents? Like, what does real estate for the next generation even look like, right?
Right. And
it was a podcast episode, and it was basically just a bunch of opinions. But there was a couple of things that stood out to you, Greg. So I want to start with just your overall impressions of what you took from the article, because it sounds like it reinforces some of the things that we've talked about on the show. So when they're talking about a next generation business, what was their perspective on it?
So it was really interesting that the younger generation, the guys and gals are going to come up and bite all of you agents in the ass right now if you're not doing this, is they're doing two things really, really well. And they're not segregating them out independently. They're using them in concert. They're using social media, and they're using actual face-to-face networking, actually really meeting with someone. And the thing that I found interesting is the fact that off air, Gene and Matt and I were all bagging on each other for, talking about cat videos on Instagram and, all kinds of stuff like that. But in reality, that's what the younger generation is doing. They're humanizing themselves to an epic level. So they're no longer a pretty face and a name. They are a real human that, who knows, pooped their pants yesterday because they have explosive diarrhea. They have a cat meme. Cat fell asleep on them. God knows what happened. Maybe their kid drew with crayons on their living room wall, whatever. But they're just talking about real life things, but they're also using technology to do it and building relationships. And relationships seem to be the biggest thing. And Matt, you and Gene and I have been talking about relationships this entire year. Since January of 19, we've been saying, look, man, you got to get out there. You got to build a relationship. You've got to become more of a human. And I believe recruiting agents with that mentality is going to be the wave of the future, because it's using the high tech and the high touch when it comes to building that relationship. And I mean, Gene, you could take a video. You need how much time of a video, like 60 minutes on a video, and you can tear that apart and use it for how long to help to promote an agent. What would you need?
Well, no, 15 minutes if there's good information in it, right? If your content sucks for 60 minutes, I'm not going to be able to strip anything out of it. But if you got 10 minutes of great conversation, like one of these things with these podcasts we're doing, you got 45 minutes of this stuff. Think about all the clips we could pull out for 45 seconds that you could use.
Like pooping yourself?
Like what?
That would be good. Like pooping yourself? Yes. That would be a good one. That was very educational.
Where did that come from? All right. So, there was something I was talking about podcasting the other day that applies just as much to social media, which is I made the comment that I think one of the things that I like the best about the combination of doing things like live video or podcasting and social media combined is that it allows you to build relationships at scale. And I hadn't thought about that phrase much, but I really like that. I meant to write it down and was thinking about incorporating that into some of my messaging, even for my own business, because that is what technology has allowed us to do. So it used to be the fact that the only ways to build relationships were you had to pick up the phone, you had to send stuff out through the mail, and you had to host live events. I mean, Greg, that's how the Grand Master built your guys' business.
Mm-hmm.
You had to go knock on a lot of doors to start the conversation, and then you had to keep in touch with them through mailers, phone calls, more door knocking, and then live local events. However, so I think what we did is we took social media and we went screaming off in the other direction, which was we wanted to put out content that made people call us.
Right, not the other way around. Not the other way around. To them, bringing more value to them. We look at it inversely. What is up is down, and what is down is up. In regards to kind of how you need to go about it. Gene, Matt, you guys have both said this multiple times on the show. We always go out there with like, oh, this is a really good real estate article. Nobody gives a flying fuck about the real estate article because it doesn't pertain to them at that moment. But if you bring content and you talk about things and show them things that relate to their lives, you then become relevant, and now you become someone they want to interact with. And that's where they always do it the wrong way around. Like with Viral, Matt, our biggest hit videos that we've been doing for 4 or 5 years now with them. I don't know how long I've been with them, but it's always local stuff. A restaurant review, a history of the city, highlighting a certain business. People love that because it's like, oh, I can go use this coupon, this discount. This is a great idea. What a good new place I never thought about going. Gene, you talked about being the mayor of your town forever and a day, or the best of. I mean, that's relatable. That's something that people can use. And, here's a tip. If you guys want to start doing videos, there's a secret little place that nobody knows about where you can go get ideas in local markets. It's called TripAdvisor. I know, a new tiny little company, but you can go to TripAdvisor and look at the top things in restaurants and everything to do in the area and then go interview them. Mm-hmm. Gene, what say you?
I agree with TripAdvisor. Yelp is one too. Mm-hmm. And also I like Patch. My thing is this. If you see something from me, there's a 90% chance it's regurgitated with thought on top of it. That's all. Mm-hmm. So I'm looking at stuff that I think my audience wants to see and hear and understand a little bit better, and I just put my spin on it. So I can go out in the morning, pull in an article from the Patch that has to do with digital marketing in Westchester, and read it for 6 minutes, put a little spin on it, and do a 45-second video that turns it into layman speak, and people will call me and say, that was awesome. I never thought of it like that. Matter of fact, Paul Franklin. Paul Franklin reached out to me this week. He listened to an episode that I was a guest on. But actually, it was one of my podcasts, and we broke down politics. And he said, your take on the 10 steps of politics was really interesting. I love the way you broke that down. So that, to me, is like it resonated with Paul for some odd reason, and he'll think about me for a week. Or, the next time he sees that podcast, maybe he'll listen again because he got some good nuggets. I don't know.
You want Paul thinking about you all night long?
Greg, that's exactly where I went mentally. You and I are very much on the same track. That was hilarious. You beat me to the comment, but I was so there. I was gonna say, I don't want Paul Franklin thinking about me most of the time. Definitely not in the bathroom, the shower, in his home, and really in his car. Yeah, just anywhere where Paul Franklin is. I don't want Paul thinking about me.
See, okay, Paul, you can think about me, Bubba Cake. I still love you. Matt is owning up to his little coal heart right there.
That's right. All right. So anyway, getting back to the next generation businessing. So the first thing that stuck out to you is relationships first, right?
Yeah.
The other thing that what are some of the other things that stood out to you about their perspective about the next generation?
Um, I haven't gotten through the entire thing, but it's something
Mm.
that like you and I have been, screaming from the roofs on. Like it's not rocket science. It's like the easiest thing on planet Earth, but it's also the most petrifying thing because these things called smartphones have paralyzed us with separation because they keep us from interacting with each other. It's easier to do a FaceTime, a Facebook video, a live Insta, posting a photo, doing a voice message to somebody instead of actually going, hey man, what are you doing for lunch? I was thinking about grabbing some tacos at this new burrito place. You want to go? It's that simple. But we've gotten afraid of making those interpersonal relationships. I don't know, maybe because you feel you have a face for radio, or maybe you had a bad relationship one time. Get the fuck over it. We've all had bad relationships.
Right. Mostly Greg, but yeah.
I am lovable and adorable, damn it. But no, it really is. It's just getting out there, getting out of your house. And one of the things I love EXP. I love working with EXP. But one of the things I found with EXP is the fact that I've become a captive in my own house, right? I live, work, everything here in my house. And I like getting out. Like I'm going to start go to my mixed use work centers more often. Just being out and about, being around other human beings. A lot of people just don't want to do that anymore. They will do everything they can to not do it. My girlfriend, I love her to pieces. She's an amazing woman. But she and I are 180 degrees apart on certain things, and one of them is like, if I want to get something handled, I'll go down to the place or I'll call someone on the line. She would cut her fingers off before she would do that. She would rather do a texting between the two different organizations, her and another organization, to get it resolved. And that's the disconnect that humanity is seeming to have. It's just get out there and do the really hard thing called build a relationship. Go door knocking, you pussies. It's not fucking hard. Gene's just dying. It's true.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
What?
Yeah.
But I mean, my father, been in business 47 years, and he keeps saying, preaching that door knocking is the way to go. We have made some of our lifelong friends that I've literally traveled the world with from him knocking on doors. You get to see the neighborhoods, ask about why, that house is getting a new roof. Do you know if they're thinking of selling? You get to know where the renters are. You get to see, what neighbors are fighting a lot. Could put a check mark on them. They could be getting a divorce. All these different things. When people are doing a yard sale, could be getting ready to sell. All these things you could never find through the internet. It's just impossible to find out this stuff. So that's where I'm coming from on this. I know I sound like a broken record, but it's relationships. Just go out and build strong relationships. Who did we have on the show, Matt, that said if you are like Tom Cruise famous to 50 people, you'll make a healthy 7-figure income?
Yeah, Zach Hammer said that.
Zach. Good.
Yep.
I like Zach. Zach's a good
I know.
dude.
Me too. Yeah, and I think he's right. I think it was my post about being micro-famous and what does that term mean to people, which is where he said that. Being Tom Cruise famous to a small number of people. Because I think I think we all need, and one of the things that I admire about Hank, who brought us into EXP. I was just watching one of his Facebook Lives the other day. He talked about his A's, his B's, his C's, kind of how he has his database structured so that he knows who he gives his time and attention to. Like he just has a really good handle on what his inner core of relationships are, but he's also able to reach a lot of other people on the outside, right, in those outer circles, so to speak, through things like Facebook Live and Facebook posts, messages, comments, stuff like that with his 50, 25, and 1. So he's able to build these soft connections with people, but eventually those people move closer, and some of them end up being his very small core of highest level relationships. And to me, that's the goal, is you're constantly trying to upgrade that inner core of people that you are Tom Cruise famous to, and then you're reaching other people, a larger group of people through things like social media, and you're kind of pulling them in one step at a time to get closer into that highest level of relationship. And if we look at it from that perspective, it's not about just posting content that gets people to call us. It's about posting content that builds relationships, and then the relationships get them into a deeper level of relationship to the point where they're comfortable messaging us to say, like, hey, man, I've been thinking about buying a house. Like, great, let's get together. Let's grab lunch next week. Okay, awesome. Like, that's how that should go. And Hank is one of the best examples I know of living and acting and walking that walk every single day. It's like he's never not doing it. right? So if there's anybody I would hold up as an example of how to build a next gen real estate business, that's the way. Because I think he uses social media exactly right.
So, all right, I was going to ask you that, and you sort of answered it a little bit. I want to dig into that a little further, right? So I actually just had a meeting with somebody today, a friend of mine, who was asking for some social media advice for his business, which is a tough business to sell in, okay? He's got a limited audience, and the products he uses are just not they're not just not sexy, so it's hard. It's not an easy thing to deal, right?
Okay.
And when we got through the conversation, he came up with this idea where he said, so he's selling, let me say it this way, he's selling to the biomedical /IT, information technology /nurse world. So you can see he's in the medical field, right?
Yep.
And we're trying to figure out a way to appeal to all three of those groups. And he said, you know what I'm going to do? What if I just grabbed three people that I already know that would be honest with me from each segment, so 9 total, right? 3 biomeds, 3 ITs, 3 nurses, and sat them down and said, if I were to publish content, what would you want to see from me that would keep your attention? And I said, I think that's a friggin' brilliant idea, because you're going to get honest advice from people that you're targeting. You're going to buy them beers and have a beer with them, and they're going to let you know what it would take to keep their attention. So now I'm circling back. So you sort of answered this a little bit. Okay. You, sir, Mr. Matt Johnson, are extremely picky and very, very hoity-toity about who you watch and where you spend your time, yes?
Yes.
Hoity-toity is a hilarious word to use for that, but sure, I'm very intentional.
How about this?
How about very intentional with my time.
Very bougie about where you spend
my time.
Okay, you're intentional, right? All right. So what is it about Hank, or pick somebody else maybe that you didn't mention, that you will stop and watch his videos? There's something about what he puts out on social media, including what you just said, right? But there's probably, is it the entertainment value? Is it, because I've seen Hank's videos too, and he's very matter of fact. He's in your face. What about him it makes Matt Johnson stop? Because if Hank can get Matt to stop, he can probably get just about anybody to stop, right?
Yeah. Okay. I don't know if it's helpful to the conversation, but Hank has a really good combination of the energy that grabs attention online. But for me, I don't really care about the energy. What I care about is how Hank's brain works, right? So I love to listen to him talk about how he runs his business. That's the thing that keeps me around. So the attention, like the energy might grab people's attention, but the energy would grate on me if there wasn't content. So that's why I stick around for Hank's stuff. If I see him scroll by on social media, if I have the time, I'm going to give him my attention, because I know that not only it'll give me a little shot of motivation, but I don't really need that. I'm not interested in that. What I'm going to get is a shot of something thought-provoking that will change the way I look at my business. So I don't know if that's helpful or not, but that's what I get out of it.
No, it is, because here's what I'm trying to relay to the folks that are listening. If you come up with a recipe of some of those things that Matt just came up with, it's not necessarily about the X's and O's of real estate, but maybe it's about the X's and O's of how you run your business behind the scenes that people don't see on an everyday basis. So what's the formula that when you're going through and doing this marketing, I kind of took it off track a little bit, but I think it's pertinent to what you're saying.
Okay.
What are the things that you look at every day and go, I just wish the world knew about this? Well, they can if you told them. So maybe that's an element that you put into your social media marketing /videos /interviews / what you do on a daily basis that captures attention and turns into a commission.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, well, I think there's a couple of different levels, because we were talking about this before we went on the air. And it's funny because I spotted Chris Lockhead, who's been on the show before, just put out a podcast episode on his show called "Personal Branding is Bullshit."
Okay.
And I know where he's coming from, and I know where he's going with this. I don't even have to listen to the podcast episode because I know him. I know what he's saying. My perspective on it is that personal branding is the first level, right? If you take a business that isn't visible at all and you make it visible by doing anything related to personal branding, it's going to make that business more successful. Now, if you go the step beyond that, and that personal brand is better positioned, the content is higher quality, it maybe is addressing a need that people are already searching for, then even better. Then it gets even better results, right? You know what I'm saying? So I think we have to keep in mind, if you're at the stage where you feel like you're invisible, any kind of content is better than no content.
Yeah.
right? Get yourself to the level where you're posting consistently, then start to turn your attention to what can I post that would be better, more specific, more searchable, more entertaining, more educational, more whatever, right? Right, more specific to what's going to attract the right sort of people. But yeah, I mean, you pointed out, Gene, in the lead up to the show, like some people just like they're not even at the point where they're posting anything. They're not engaged. They're not having a conversation with their prospects at all. So if you take them and you get them to do anything, even if it's just talking about their cats or doing something on Instagram that has a consistent color theme, right, they're going to get business out of it because they've been invisible. Now they're taking something that was invisible and making it more visible. So that, to me, that is the first level. Now, if you're already doing that, then you can start worrying about, okay, what can I do to improve that, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that's what we're talking about is just there's different levels. Like the personal branding is one level, right? Then you move up to a perfectly positioned like company brand or something like that, where you have this clear and compelling idea of why people should hire you that you're hammering away over and over again, along with all the other personal brand stuff. It's about being authentic and being yourself and sharing your life and all that stuff. So anyway, that's my perspective on it. Is I think the next generation is going to be better at sharing their authentic self and a little bit more personal content, and that's great. That's the first level. The next level is you share all that stuff, yeah, but then still be able to share something that gives people a clear and compelling idea of why they should hire you and why you're an expert in the very specific thing that they need, so that when they think of that thing, you're the first person they think of, not just you're the person who posts videos of their cats and they like cats and you seem like a fun, nice person. That gets you visibility. It doesn't build authority, right? So to me, the sweet spot is authority, visibility, and relationships. That's if you can build all three on social media, authority, visibility, and relationships, that's when you win. If you only get visibility, you will get some business, but people will have a hard time believing that you're the right expert for them because you have no authority, right? If you have no relationships, people don't know where you fit into the pecking order of things, and they're not seeing you on with other influencers. They're not seeing you on with other business owners in the community. They don't know where you fit in. You're kind of like this outsider, and they have no idea how other people relate to you. So they don't know where the social order is. That's why you need a relationship. So to me, that like I said, that's the sweet spot. But you only worry about visibility first. Then once you get the visibility down, then you can worry about authority and relationships, because those are things you can just improve about content you're already posting. It's no more additional work. It's just getting a little bit more intentional about what you're posting.
I think the interesting piece about that is that if you're smart and savvy enough, you can create the perception that you have all three of those things. That's the beauty of social media today, right? That
is the beauty of social media. Yeah, you build the perception first, and then if you're good at sales conversion, you turn the perception into clients.
Well, it's funny because I always say that during my some of my talks when we get into social media. I'm like, you guys see me, I'm the social media expert, right? And they go, yeah. And I'm like, why? And they're like, we don't know. I'm like, because I've been telling you that for the last 8 years. I could be some bumblefuck Joe off the corner that's like, oh, what's this Facebook you're talking about? But I keep letting everybody know that if you need social media help, I'm your guy. I was an IT guy 10 years ago. What right do I have to be stepping 9 years ago to be stepping in that field? I took it on, grabbed it, and then made it my bitch. Really? Right?
I agree. Exactly. Yeah. And that's the thing is you continually hammer that same message home. And so you're not just building a personal brand. You're building a brand around the clear and compelling idea of what you do for people. And the personal brand side, the personal stuff is a supplement to the business stuff. That to me is when it actually starts to generate business, right?
For sure.
Anyway, that's my opinion based on what I've seen.
You know, this thing keeps coming up, and I know Greg was writing notes. I think he's going to jump all over me in a minute. But there's an old saying that goes, and I always hated this saying, and I may have even said it this episode. I always hated it, but the more I think about it, the more pertinent it is today. And as the social media sites shift to the new model, which is more one-to-one stuff, and that's the way the world's going. The old saying goes, you know, and I heard a lot in network marketing, people don't care what you know until they know you care. Mm-hmm. It's that relationship aspect again, right? So like, oh, great, you're a real estate agent, I could give a shit. But if I like your style and the fact that you're trying to help me ahead of the game, I'm more likely to then care about your real estate business and do business with you.
Yeah, of course that's the way it is. I mean, one of the biggest hits we've ever done is when we first met with people, or when I would go door knocking or whatever else, I'd bring these big old coupons for different businesses, local restaurants. And there was a steak place here in the area. and they gave us a $25 gift certificate, right? We never had to pay a dime for it, and I just use it as a thank you card. I mean, hey, Gene, thanks for coming to my open house today. Hey, just for thanking you for your time to come through, I just want to give you this $25 gift certificate. What? For real? Yeah, for you. Just want to thank you for coming through. Dude, I mean, I remember this one house. It was probably 5-7 years ago. It was a while back. It was like a $1.8 million home at that point, so it was probably like 2.6 now. And we had a 25, a 20, a 15, a 10, and a buy one get one free. All these different coupons, right? And every single person, there were a lot of neighbors that came through. Every single person that came through, I would actually yell at people. I'm like, hey, you can't leave yet. You get over here. You come back in this house. And people come in like they're getting yelled at by a school teacher. But I come back and I'm like, you can't leave yet. I have to give you this gift certificate for coming through my open house. And they would all take the $25 one sheepishly. They'd make up stupid excuses like, hey, it's my husband, my anniversary. It's my wife's birthday. My son's coming into town. Like, you fucking liars. You just want the biggest discount. Don't fib me. But it brought a lot of value to people because then like I would see them months or however long later, because there's a lot of repeat buyers that come to these open houses, and I would see them like, hey, Matt and Julie, did you ever take your 3 obese little insulin sucking troll babies out for that steak? No, but it's still in our fridge, and so I became sticky, not in a weird way, Matt, you sicko, just mentally, and that got even weirder. But what I'm saying is that like I became sticky in regards to the fact that I stuck around. It wasn't a business card they just threw away in the garbage. It was something they found value, and that's the easiest thing. Here's a way to get those coupons, guys. Go to Groupon, go talk to the local restaurant, and say, hey, I see that you're doing a buy one get one free or 15% off or whatever it is. Can I market that to my database? Could I have the authority to market that same offer? They're already giving it away, but Groupon takes up to 50% of the revenue from that business. Just say, hey, look, I'll let you keep all your revenue. I just want to offer the same thing out to my people. Is that cool? They will say yes. If they have a half a brain, they will say yes.
So stupid. You incorporate that into your digital mayor campaign. Think about it. You go all the restaurants where you're becoming the digital mayor of and include that in your newsletter. Sign up for my newsletter. I'm sending out coupons to the local restaurants every damn week.
Exactly.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, and the thing that I love about the digital mayor strategy is that it feeds. It's not just that it grabs attention. It's not just that it keeps you visible. It's that it keeps you visible in a way that reinforces your expertise.
Yep.
It ties into what you claim to be good at, right? Which,
the locale.
Yeah, exactly. Which now I would contend, and any top agent I think would agree with me, that that's the lowest level of expertise that a real estate agent can have. It's much better to actually be just legitimately good at marketing and selling homes, and that skill set transfers over regardless. A deep knowledge of the local, like the actual locale, can be helpful, but homeowners way overvalue it compared to actually having a system that gets homes sold, just being a good marketer in general. Yeah. But that's what everybody else thinks is important, right? They think they need a local expert. So why not, make sure that you've got that and have legitimate things like selling system that actually gets homes sold and gets people into open houses and all that fun stuff.
Well, here's the thing. I feel like that's the honeymoon phase, right? So the whole point of that whole digital mayor concept, which I agree 1,000% with everything you just said, the whole argument there is to build an emotional attachment with people long before they ever need to know you have a process in place. So it's the human psychology is a weird thing in that like this. So if Greg gives me a coupon to a steak place and says, dude, you got to try this spot. It's in our backyard, right? I've been there 5 times. I friggin' love it, and I'm a steak guy. And then I go and eat it, and Greg's right. I now have an emotional attachment with Greg over a steak. Like, think how stupid that is, but how that accelerates me doing business with him when I need that service.
Well, it's just law of reciprocity. I'm giving before I'm asking for anything in return, and I keep giving, and I consistently find value. And if I can negotiate a free steak, well, why couldn't I negotiate a phenomenal deal on the house?
That's a good point.
It's just, it all comes down just to the relationship. Give, then get. That's all it does. I mean, I keep talking about my clients, Will and Mary. They're clients that, 16 years ago I sold them a house. you know what? Because of the viral videos that I've done for 5 years, they've been seeing me consistently. So I've been giving to them content. Then I started doing, local business reviews. And then they gave them discounts. Guess what? They picked up the phone. They're like, hey, list my $2 million home. Help me build buy a 1.3, sell my home, my investment for 1.3, and then do another 1031 exchange for the same price. But it was all based upon just me giving them value, staying in front of them, being relevant and real, not being salesy, and just reaffirming, hey, I like Greg. He was a good agent. He did a good job for us. He did some good stuff. You know what? Hey, we should give him a call. Relevancy, 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 relevancy. Once the time is right, they will. I mean, you got to obviously ask for the business from time to time. Remind, like to Matt's point, remind them what you do. You're not just the mayor around town. You're also a phenomenal real estate agent. But there is that nice blend there that you need to kind of put together. High tech to high touch. Reinforce what you do. Drop little nuggets of information. Like, hey, here's a great steak. By the way, you guys know that the rates are at the lowest that they've ever been. Best time to buy in the last 5 years. You guys have a good night. Enjoy your steak. Just constantly just get content in there drop little nuggets of stuff the way you'd want to be talked to, not be sold.
Right.
Finding difference.
Yeah. I would tend to agree with that. Okay. So there was something that in this article on Real Trends, there is something that caught my eye, which is that they, like the younger generation, like the next generation of agents, has a reputation for avoiding face-to-face interaction. They're finding that at least among the top younger agents, the opposite is true. They're more gregarious and outgoing. And quote, they take every opportunity to get together, especially like regional networking opportunities and things like that. So yeah, I do think that even though, like, while it's easy for us to say, oh, those young kids, they avoid the phone, they avoid getting together in person, not the top agents, right? So they know something, like they're learning from, the previous generation, taking the things that work, amplifying it with social media, and then using that to drive people to things like local and regional networking events where they can meet people in person, which that goes, Greg, we've been talking about that with your stuff with Rockstar Connect for a while. But I do think that, like, that part of it is encouraging. There may be a part of the next generation that is reluctant to pick up the phone, but if you can use social media to get people to an in-person interaction, what's the difference? It's still belly to belly, face to face. It's a different way to win, but it's still a way to be personable and get in front of people in a personal way and build an actual real relationship. So I love that funnel personally, like the idea of doing Facebook Lives, IGTV, talking to people through Facebook and Instagram, driving them to a local event, and then shaking their hand, get around them, give value, and then you turn that into a deeper relationship. I mean, if you look at masterminds with really, really successful people, the best masterminds always have that in-person component. It's not just a bunch of group calls. It's not just social media. It's not just a Facebook group. Like, it always centers around the in-person stuff that builds the relationship, and then the social media and the in-between communication just kind of maintains that relationship until you get together in person again. And to me, that's a much better way of using social media. If that makes sense.
No, yeah. Well, it's a one to many, and I think what Gene, you said this is one to many, then one to one, and then many to what was that formula you talked about before?
Yeah, no, one to many. That's the carpet bomb. One to many.
Right.
The carpet bomb technique, and then one to one.
And I believe that is the best way. I mean, that's exactly what direct mail was. That's exactly what the newspaper ads were. That's exactly what all that stuff used to be back in the day that, like, the Grand Master used to use. It's the exact same methodology, just in a different delivery system.
For sure. And it's still extremely, extremely important. But now you just have to understand that because that yields such a low ROI, then your cost needs to be low as well.
Oh, yeah. You're not going to spend $1,000 on something to get you $1 back. That's just right. Really bad business.
Yeah, but I think here's what happens. People are getting smarter now, but think 3 years ago. Facebook was built on the concept that I had a business page, I'd have 5,000 followers, I put one post out, I make $10,000. Right? That's, people got comfortable with the fact that, okay, I have a business page, I have this outlet that I can use for free or for a couple bucks, and I'm going to get countless numbers of things to roll in. Now it's the exact opposite of that.
It is, and that's where it comes down to. Look, technology is great, but the future agents are building it on relationships. And a lot of us, hey, yours truly got caught up on the whole idea of, I put out a little bit of content, everyone's going to call me because I'm the messiah of real estate in my area. Not true. Furthest thing from the truth. But If you go help, Nancy down the street find a dog sitter when she goes on vacation by picking up the phone and calling someone you know that has that business, well, now you have a much deeper relationship with that person right off the bat. And it's a fluffy little dog. It's Buddy, Matt. Someone helped you with Buddy.
Exactly. Buddy needs a lot of help. Okay.
Yes, he does.
All right, let's finish out. I've got a question that I want to finish out the show with. So before we do that, Gene.
Yes.
You are the social media and exposure master. So how do people get in touch with you?
GeneVolpe.com. You can listen. You know this. You can Google me.
Unnecessarily creepy.
It was actually, right?
You should wear a coat.
You want to talk about creepy? Have you seen my new Facebook banner?
Well, no.
Go to my Facebook. Go to my personal Facebook page and look at the banner real quick.
Oh my God.
While I'm telling the people.
Okay. All right. Keep going.
Yeah. So GeneVolpe.com. You can always just get on my website.
Okay, that is creepy. That is straight up creepy.
Isn't that funny?
It's funny though. It's creepy.
And when you open up my page, if you're there 45 seconds, it'll pop up with a little chat window. You like that, Matt? Matt's laughing.
Yeah, for those that can't see it, it's the picture of the wrong side of the door, and Gene is peeking in through the mail slot, and it says, "No matter what, always remember Volpe delivers," which would be a great line, Volpe, if you were UPS.
Wait, can I tell you? No, this is how it played out yesterday. So I went and I did a photo shoot for a client of mine, Dave Joslin. He's a Century 21 broker around here, a good friend of mine. And while I was at the place, he says to me, "I got to get the keys. Would you mind bringing the keys back?" So of course I grabbed the keys from the home seller. I bring it back with to the house to his office, and I bring it in, and I'm like, "What's it cost you to get a courier to Harrisburg for your papers? Because I'm going to give you a discount today. I'm not carrying these keys around for free. That's not what I do." So he's like, "You should go outside and pretend like you're dropping them through." So I do it. He takes a picture of it. And I'm like, "I have a better idea. We're going to sell this to FedEx. Like, take that picture. This is what it looks like when you don't use FedEx." FedEx, hit your boy up. You can use that image if you want to better your services, because people will start calling FedEx or UPS if you want.
Dude,
God, that's funny.
Legitimately creepy. I love it.
All right.
I will remember that forever.
My wife went, "You're not using that for your business, are you?"
Remember, Volpe delivers.
All right. I'm going to bounce you.
All right.
See you, boys.
Gene, pleasure as always. We'll see you next week.
Love you guys.
All
Thanks.
Bon voyage.
Greg, what's the best way to reach out and connect with you?
I'm going to give my personal cell phone up because I love, care, and appreciate all of our listeners and watchers. If you guys want to do a free call, I'm doing them kind of one-off to do some free coaching. Feel free and get me a text on my cell phone, 925-915-1978. Again, that's 925-915-1978, like the year. And we will, let's talk for, 30 minutes, an hour, just kind of chat and see what I can do to help you guys. So that's how they can get a hold of me. But, Matt, how do they rate the show?
Apple Podcasts or Spotify, preferably Apple Podcasts, is the easiest place to go and leave a rating and a review. And then if you want to be micro-famous, if you want to get interviewed and featured on podcasts to become known as the local expert, if that's what you want to be, you can use that. You can use podcasts just like this one to get featured, and then you share that with your database, and it builds your reputation, your authority, your credibility, so that your database knows that you know what you're talking about. So if you'd like to do that, just go to howtogetfeatured.com. There's a little training there that'll show you exactly how to do that. So the question that I have, and I think you can be the most helpful with this, so I want to bounce this to you, Greg. So this is from Kate Kensheba. Says, calling FSBO expired in Circle Prospecting and lost 4 listings to the same brokerage, not the same agent, same brokerage, and I feel a little discouraged. So what would you say to someone that feels like they're missing out on listings, but it's not to the same person, it's to the same brokerage, whatever that means?
Well, first off, what's her name? Kate, right?
Kate, yes.
Kate needs to understand that she didn't lose shit. She never had it in the first place. Big distinction. They were not signed listing agreements with her. She was just doing prospecting. She had found someone that was going to do something, and they had already made an agreement to go with someone else. Kate, I don't know you, but buck up, Buttercup. I mean, you can't feel discouraged on that. You just got to understand that you're hunting in the right pool, because look at all the other business that's happening, and hit it harder, faster, and stronger with more resolve than the other agents, so you can start picking up those listings. Don't worry about that. And if they're going to be listing with that other agent, see if you can work with them on the buy side to help them buy something. You didn't lose anything. It was never yours. It's like saying, "Oh man, I'm really bummed out that, I never dated so-and-so." Did you ever talk to him? No. Well then, bitch, how the fuck are you going to date him? You can't, you never had it, so you didn't lose it. I mean, I don't get that mindset. Honestly, I don't get that mindset. But I guess,
yeah.
I mean, if she made one phone call, she feels that she has ownership. I mean, to that client.
That's a very good question. Yeah, it's unclear whether she actually went on the listing appointment and actually had a meeting with them and then lost it, or whether she's making phone calls and they tell her to, she's following up, and then is feeling like she didn't even get a shot at the appointment. But yeah, I mean, I will say this: it's an issue of mastering your skills, and then having something compelling to say as to why they should get together with you. This is why I loved, like when I first got in, I got into the right marketing program that taught you to say things like, well, hey, I have this, we have like a 73-point system for how we market and put a home on the market to get it ready for sale, and then to sell it in those first few weeks. So if you'd like to find out about that, I mean, obviously I'd love to meet with you, and I can actually send the documents that lay that whole thing out in advance of us getting together, so you can see it and you can touch it and you can feel it and you can see if it's something that's worth talking about. That's a little bit more descriptive than I intended it to be, but you know what I'm saying. So because I would have
feel it, yeah.
Well, I would. So back in the day when I was doing this, my partner would roll up in his Lexus and drop off the pre-listing packet the day before I showed up for the appointment. Right. So like it was perfectly positioned so that even though we were young, 25, 26. It positioned us completely differently than any other agent we were going up against, because even experienced agents were just rolling in there with a legal pad and asking them questions. Right? I showed up, there was a packet delivered, it was all very professional, we had a whole system laid out, yada, yada, yada. So like it's not just an issue of skills, and it's not just an issue of like buck up and make more calls. Like there are concrete things you can do to make it more compelling, so that when you do get on the phone with somebody, they go, wow, yeah, I actually would like to learn more about what you do to sell homes, because that actually sounds unique and different from anything else I'm getting from all these other realtors that are calling me. Like that should be the response is, wow, I've never heard anybody else say that. I think that probably is worth a short meeting. Great.
Yeah, no, one of the things that we use a lot is I go heavy and hard in the paint when it comes to video. We do live videos. We're gonna have a drone video shoot your house. I let them know that we're gonna be socially aggressive and getting the word out and be very visible. The other thing Kate might want to do, or anyone else might want to do, if you feel that you're losing out on, and losing out with big air quotes on this, okay, losing out on different listing opportunities, straight up ask them. You know what? I understand you're listing with Bob from Remax, that fucktard, but what could what is the distinguishing difference that made you go with Bob versus potentially myself? Is there something I did or did not do? Be very vulnerable and ask these questions, because you don't know what you don't know unless you ask. I mean, you just gotta ask. And every time I've done that, it has been some of the dumbest things why people will go with other people. I had one gal, dude, I was nailing this listing appointment. They were vibing with me. I was vibing with them. They're asking all the right questions. They're talking about next steps, right? And I was talking about my team and getting all excited. And then I called them up 2 days later to follow up with them. And I said, well, are you guys ready to get going? They're like, oh, well, we decided to list with this other agent. And I got butthurt. I'm like, oh, that sucks. What? Okay. May I ask what I did or didn't do that made you list with someone else? Her response was, well, Greg, we liked you and your team, we liked your record, we liked everything you had to say, but we felt that once we signed with you guys, you would pass us off to one of your team members and we would never see you again. Right. And I'm like, oh my God, I totally didn't mean to convey that, but I conveyed that. And so I'm like, no, you would be working with me hand in hand, side by side, this entire transaction. You just had the backup, my team, to help back me up on everything. And you could feel over the phone, you could feel them going, oh, damn it. But I learned to explain explicitly that the blah, blah, blah team, but I'm going to be right next to you the entire time. I'm going to be the primary agent. So I made that a bigger part of my pitch. And so I didn't lose any more listings to that problem. So I'm always asking questions. So, Kate, you need to ask questions, girl. Be a student of the industry. Be a student of your business.
Yep.
So, long
Agreed.
answer, short question.
Exactly. I love it. All right. Shall we put a nice bow upon this episode?
Yes. Choose.
Okay. Go with sunshine yellow, which sadly is sorely lacking in San Diego today.
It is sorely lacking here in Northern California as well. All cloudy.
Yeah.
Blue sky. No, the rest is gray. Okay, guys, we love you. Sunshine, yellow bow on this show. Thank you guys for watching. We love you to pieces. We really appreciate you guys sharing, following, commenting, and sharing this with other agents. Until next week, peace out, my ninjas. We are gone. Bye-bye.